Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bay Ball channel for another episode of Quick Strikes. Unfortunately, we have to talk about a loss as the Lightning fall 3-1 in their matinee game versus the Nashville Predators. My name is Michael Weiss, joined as always with my co-host Jake Ricker. Jake, not the best game, but there were some positives to take away. How you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, no, not the best game, but it wasn't the worst game either. I thought the Lightning actually played really well, like in the third period, for example, which we'll get into. There was just Pecorine played really, really good today for the Predators. It seems like a lot of the Lightning losses come when the goaltenders play one of their best games of their career. That's happened for the Lightning for a long time now, but tough game. But it's a these kind of games happen. It's another loss after a lot of wins for the Lightning, and I'm sure they'll be ready to bounce back in the next game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we look at the losses, hopefully we try to get as much positives as we can out of this game. But we're going to start with the negative. I, for one, thought that this line was not very good, even though it did have the only goal scorer. Gord, Killorn, and Stamkos probably had their worst game as a collective unit, whether it was being stuck in the defensive zone or generating opportunities for Nashville by giving them the puck through bad passes, through miscommunication. I really thought it was a poor game for that line. And, Stamkos did score that only goal for the Lightning. So that's to be commended for getting them a little bit of offense. But at the end of the day, those first two periods for that line, for the entire team, but for that line in particular, not going to end up on their highlight reel.
No, yeah, and it's hard to be tough on them because the Stamkos did get that goal, which was the only goal for the Lightning. But yeah, definitely not their best game. But I think that can be kind of said about almost any line in this game for the most part, because it was just a tough game overall. So, I don't want to be too hard on them because this is just one of those games that was a tough game overall. And again, as I mentioned, Stamkos did get that goal at the end of the day. But Killorn is somebody who's had a rough start to the season, been playing very well as of late. So this just seemed like it's another tough game for him. Yanni Gore is one of those competitors that never gives up. So again, I think just a one-off game for this line. I think nothing really too much to be concerned about overall. They've played really good this season.
Yeah, and I was really actually surprised to see that the media gave Yanni Gourde the third star. Not because he wasn't great in the third period, he definitely was, but I thought his negatives in this game at least outshined the positives that he had in that third period. But you mentioned, and I mentioned as well, the entire team really struggled in those first 40 minutes. I don't know whether it was because it was a matinee game. I don't know whether it was because they have a game tomorrow against a team that is much better in the Dallas Stars, that they were trying to save their legs underneath them. But it really felt like they were really sloppy in those first 40 minutes. They weren't moving their feet. The power play looked pretty bad. The penalty kill did not look the way that it normally does. It was a very, very strange night in terms of the play of the team in the first 20 or two periods.
I think strange is the perfect way to put this because that's how it did feel. And you're right, the penalty kill was definitely not good tonight. They were giving up a lot of breakaway chances. I think the second period was really the period where things kind of got out of hand. That's when the Predators were able to get all of their offense going because it was a 0-0 game at the end of the first period. So while that period wasn't great, Lightning were still very much in this game, obviously, an tie game. But that second period, things really did start to fall apart quickly. And we know this penalty kill is the best in the NHL. So for them to have an off night is very weird. It wasn't their greatest night, but I expect them to fully get back right into it. And you're right. When you mentioned the matinee games, I actually looked into this because I don't know about you, Michael, but I always feel like the Lightning struggle in matinee games. It seems like whenever they're playing early, they never do well. When the Lightning played at 1:30 earlier this season against Chicago Blackhawks, they actually won that game. There's another game they played on a little bit earlier start time. They actually won that game as well. So they actually have been too bad in matinee games this season, which surprised me. But yeah, something was just off. They weren't ready to go. Maybe it was the thought that they had to fly to Dallas because they're be heading right out after this game. By the way, the reason this game was at 4 o'clock is because the NHL wanted to give the Lightning as much time to get ready for their next game in Dallas because they got to fly out right away. So not a great schedule for the Lightning there in that situation, but you still got to be ready for these starts. And This is going to be a tough upcoming schedule for Lightning as well. They've got another back-to-back coming up after this one on this weekend. So there's going to be a lot of games coming up for the Bolts because a lot of them are makeup games that were postponed earlier in the season.
Yeah, and that brings up another point entirely of like, why are we going to have to make the Lightning suffer through, what is it, 5 games and 6 nights or something?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because other teams were making mistakes and getting COVID protocols. But that is neither here nor there. Right now, we're focusing on the Lightning's loss tonight. The play of the power play, I really want to get into the power play because the Nashville Predators came into this game ranked 31st in the entire league in their penalty kill, which is dead last. The Lightning went 0 for 3 and gave up a shorthanded goal. I don't want to say like this is a 1 game thing again. If you're against the 31st ranked team, you need to capitalize on at least one of those power plays. And the Lightning did very well when it was 6-on-5. They were generating opportunities at the end of the game. None of them went in, but they were generating those opportunities at 6-on-5. Why is 5-on-4 any different? Not really sure. But I am not really a fan of how the power play did in this game.
Yeah, the power play has been really streaky, I feel like, over the past couple of weeks. We've seen it at its worst, especially tonight, and we've seen it do really well. It just seems like they haven't been able to find that consistent groove. They were playing pretty good as of in the last couple of weeks. They were on a good hot streak, and then tonight was just not good. But you're right, coming in when you're playing the 31st ranked penalty kill in the league, you should be able to score at least one on the power play. Lightning were not able to do that whatsoever. So it's hard to say honestly what the situation was here. I think a lot of credit does need to go to Pecorine. He Pecorine, excuse me. Can't pronounce his last name, but he played a solid game. He played a really good, especially when it came on to 6-on-5 when Lightning had all those chances at the end. I couldn't believe a couple of times Lightning weren't able to score a goal because they were knocking on the door for sure. But this summer we're just gonna have to wait and see how John Cooper handles and see how he changes up the lines. And this really could be a thing where Nikita Kucherov means this much to this power play because they just have not been able to find that consistent groove. And to be honest, Michael, I really don't know what the answer is because they've tried out a couple of different things at this point. But hopefully they can try and figure out because you're right, it was not good tonight.
Well, Baybolt fans, do not fret. I have an article coming out in the next couple of days on how I think that the specifically second power play unit can be fixed. That'll be on the website very soon. But, we try to find the silver linings in every loss, just like we try to show how the Lightning have not been 100% during every win. And for me, the first positive of the game was Pat Maroon. That first fight, I'm going to be honest, not a huge fan of because they immediately went down one of their grittier players. I don't know whether he was trying to send a message that first time, but it was not a great look of him trying to fight Ben Harper. But when you're down 3-0 in the third period and Matthew Olivier is sort of running his mouth at you and you guys are jawing, it's a perfect pick me up for the team. And it really did energize the Lightning. Their third period was fantastic. So he didn't get on the score sheet. He wasn't on the ice for very long, especially not because he was in the penalty box for at least 10 minutes because of his fights. But he did a great job of being a mentor. And as soon as that second fight happened, he went and he barked at the Tampa Bay bench. We don't know what was said, but it was probably something along the lines of, I did my part. Now you guys got to go do yours. Because let's be real, Pat Maroon's not really a scorer. He's not really someone that can make some plays. He did have a great opportunity with Matthew Joseph, but that's not his role. His role is to get the Lightning engaged back in the game, and I thought he did a great job of that.
Pat Maroon played a great game today. The two fights, I thought both were great. I think both of them were intended to get the team going. Usually, when you see fights, more often than not, that's usually their intention, unless a player really does make somebody else mad and put on a bad hit. That's the other half of it. But a lot of the times, that's what the goal of fights. And we saw that, I think, both times for Pat Maroon. And the second one definitely did its job more than the first one ended up doing. But he had a good game today, and he was rewarded for it because Cooper put him out there during those last couple of minutes in that 6-on-5. He got some action because he was the one that did energize that team. And I would imagine maybe Pat Maroon has some words in the locker room for after this game to get this team fired back up and ready to go when they go take on Dallas tomorrow. Credit to him. He played a really, really good game. I'm happy with his performance. And it's good to see that leadership spilling out also onto the ice and not just in the locker room. That's the reason we brought Pat Maroon back. That's the reason he's a 2-time back-to-back Stanley Cup champion right now. And the reason why he's going to be a 3-time back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. I'm getting ahead of myself there, but he played a great game. Hopefully continue for him. But yes, you're right. It wasn't on the score sheet, but that's not always everything. That second fight really did energize the team. And, if it wasn't for Pecorine, we might have been able to come back in this game. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Pecorino was great, especially in that third period. A big credit to Dante Fabro as well. That play where Hedman seemed like he just beat everybody. He even beat Pecorino, and then Dante Fabro's stick was right along the goal line. That's a play that we've seen 1,000 times, both for and against the Lightning, but it always surprises us as fans. Jake, before we get to my final positive, because I do want to have a bit of a discussion about this, I'd love to hear what your positives were from this game.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to steal yours from you, but I think McElhinney deserves some credit tonight. He wasn't fantastic, but I thought he was fine. A lot of people have been tough on him because he hasn't had the greatest season. But I tonight those goals weren't really his fault. The first one was a great shot from the Predators. There was a breakaway, shorthanded goal that they had as well. So I thought McElhinney played fine tonight. I know the team typically does not play well in front of them, and a lot of fans still would like a change at the backup goaltender, which wouldn't hurt at the end of the day. But this game was definitely not on McElhinney 100%. He played all right tonight.
Yeah, my final positive wasn't necessarily Curtis McElhinney, but I want to give a shout out to John Cooper because I think one of the reasons that Curtis McElhinney played well tonight is because John Cooper said, okay, Vasilevsky is going to have the entire night off. Curtis, you're going to get the start. Spencer Martin, you're going to get the backup role. And we've seen that once before. We saw Chris Gibson get the backup role when he was brought up from the taxi squad, and Vasilevsky got the entire night off. And McElhinney responded with his best game of the season. So I thought it was a great plan from John Cooper to say, we understand that you probably feel more comfortable with Vasilevsky on the bench as a team. But if Curtis starts to struggle, we have no problem putting in Spencer Martin or Chris Gibson in the previous case to wake you guys up. And we have no problem if you're Curtis McElhinney replacing you in this game because you're not performing up to standards. I think that was a wake-up call for both the team and for McElhinney. McElhinney played pretty well. I'm not going to say he played great, just like you said, but I don't fault him for any of the goals, really. And you can look at the stat line and say, well, he didn't even get a 900 save percentage tonight. And that is true. But he did keep the Lightning in the game, especially in the first period. He was making some really good saves. And towards the end of the game, because even though the Lightning outshot the Predators in the third period, the Preds still had some fairly dangerous opportunities.
Yeah, this was a really smart choice by John Cooper, no question about it. We've seen him do this one once before, as you mentioned, and I like it. Not only from the perspective as you talked about there, giving McElhinney a little bit of pressure, so to speak, but I also like it for Vasilevsky because we do have a back-to-back. The team does have to travel immediately after this game, which can be very tough, especially even if you're a backup goaltender and you're sitting on the bench for the whole game. You're still at the game, getting everything packed up, ready to go. This gives Vasilevsky a real chance to rest, get ready to go, get ready to travel, and head out there to Dallas and be ready to go for the game. And Cooper wanted to play McElhinney against Nashville because Nashville isn't a better team than Dallas. Dallas should be a better team than Nashville. Dallas has done a great season, but I digress. So I really like this move from both a McElhinney perspective and a Vasilevsky perspective because I think it's definitely going to help him out when we take on the game against Dallas. So hopefully this can continue for McElhinney having these better games. This is the game I'm okay from seeing from him. Wasn't completely his fault. He played all right. If we continue to see that, that's what you expect from a backup. You don't expect him to be like Vasilevsky every single night. So this was a good sign for McElhinney. But we'll see what happens as we move on.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh my God, why do we have Curtis McElhinney still? Lou Domingue could have been our guy. Number one, backups are expendable. Number two, Lou Domingue isn't even the NHL right now. So let's cool it on the backup talk. Like we understand that McElhinney's had some bad games, but overall, like let's just cool it.
Well, and let me just say, don't expect the Lightning to make a change at the backup goaltender position. JBB said in his mid-season interview that he doesn't expect the Lightning to make moves because they don't have cap. That's just the situation we're in. And the only reason we're really under the cap is because Kucherov happened to get an unfortunate surgery that left him out for the entire season. So to make a move would be extremely difficult. They could do it. It could definitely be done, but that's going to take a lot of work, and I don't expect Lightning to do that. So McElhinney's here to stay for the season, I believe, and I would not be surprised to see him. He's going to get these starts on these back-to-backs, so the Lightning fan base has just got to give him a chance and give him a little bit of faith in him in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap it up, we always like to say something positive to really end the video because we just spent some negative time on the backup position. But let's not forget that Andre Vasilevsky has shut out the Dallas Stars in 3 consecutive games, and he looks to make it 4 tomorrow against the Stars. Jake, that game will be at, I believe, 8 o'clock because of the switch in time zone. Maybe it'll be 7 and I'm wrong, but I'm not exactly sure when that game starts. It's either 7 or 8 to try to give the Lightning as much time as possible to get their situation
Eight
in
30 is the
battle.
start for this game.
8:30, even better. So I was wrong twice. Guys, the game tomorrow will be at 8:30. Jake, anything else before we wrap up this video?
I think that just about does it. This was a tough loss overall, but only 6 regulation losses on the season for the Lightning. Still a great season overall. The boys are going to be ready to go, I guarantee you, in Dallas tomorrow night. Hopefully Victor Hedman can pick up that next point because right now he's just 1 away from 500. Nearly had it tonight, but that'll be exciting when Hedman's able to hit that milestone.
Yeah, I wish he could have done it at Amalie Arena in front of the home fans, but we'll have to wait to celebrate him when he comes back because I have no doubt in my mind that he'll get it tomorrow. That's going to be a walking cold take, I bet. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video, this edition of Quick Strike. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on every social media platform. Ring that bell for notifications. Comment down below what you thought, whether it's on this YouTube video, reply to us on our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook pages underneath our game recap post. Let us know what you thought about this game, what you like, what you didn't like, and come talk to us during the games. We're always covering the game on Twitter. We love to have that fan interaction. For Jake Recker, my name is Mike Wax. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, despite the loss, your Tampa Bay Lightning are still defending Stanley Cup champions.
Go Bolts.